The freezer had not been opened in 7 years. When they finally did, a human hand was staring back. The house was scheduled for demolition on a quiet street in Blackwood Heights. It had been abandoned for nearly a decade. Windows boarded, paint peeling, and weeds swallowing the yard. Most people thought it was just another forgotten place, but something inside that house had been waiting. The construction crew arrived early in the morning. They were told to clear out anything valuable before tearing the place down. Dust filled the air as they stepped into the dark living room. Every sound echoed like the house was holding its breath. In the kitchen, there was an old refrigerator, large, rusty, still plugged in. One of the workers joked that someone must have been stealing electricity for years. Another laughed and pulled the freezer handle. It didn't open easily. Something inside was frozen solid. With a hard pull, the door finally gave way. And that was when everything changed. Inside the freezer was not food. It was a human body, curled tightly, wrapped in black plastic, frozen in time. The skin was pale, the eyes were gone, but the hands were still there, twisted in a silent scream. The police arrived within minutes. The entire street was shut down. News vans filled the block. A crime scene that had been hiding for 7 years was finally exposed. No one in Blackwood Heights had reported a missing person connected to that house. No one had heard screams. No one had seen anything strange, which made one thing terrifyingly clear. Whoever put that body there had walked away without anyone noticing. Detective Ryan Keller was assigned to the case. He had seen a lot in his 20 years on the force. But this was different. The victim had been frozen for so long that time itself had become part of the crime. There was no smell, no blood, just a perfectly preserved secret. They couldn't identify the body right away. There was no ID, no clothing, just skin, bone, and frozen silence. The house had once belonged to a woman named Eleanor Graves. She had lived there alone before suddenly moving out 7 years earlier. The property had been empty ever since. Detective Keller found that strange. People usually sell houses. They don't just vanish and leave the electricity running. He went to the old neighbors. Most of them barely remembered Eleanor. They said she was quiet, kept to herself, never caused trouble. But one woman remembered something else. She said Eleanor used to have a guest, a man who came and went late at night, a man who never parked on the street. No one knew his name. That night, Keller returned to the house. He stood in the empty kitchen, staring at the freezer. He imagined someone standing there 7 years earlier, opening the door, pushing a body inside, closing it, and walking away like nothing happened. The autopsy came back 2 days later. The victim had been killed by blunt force trauma to the head, then placed into the freezer while still alive. Whoever did this didn't just want the person dead. They wanted them erased. A breakthrough came when the dental records were finally matched. The body belonged to a woman named Marissa Cole. She had been reported missing 7 years earlier. Her family said she had been dating someone she met in Blackwood Heights, a man who promised her a new life. Then she disappeared. Keller felt his stomach tighten. Marissa had vanished the same year Eleanor Graves moved out. 2 women, 1 house, 1 freezer. The deeper he dug, the darker it became. Maurice's phone records showed she had called one number repeatedly the night she disappeared. The number belonged to Eleanor, the quiet woman with the empty house, the woman whose freezer held a corpse. Eleanor Graves was still alive. She was living 3 states away under a different name. When police arrived at her new home, she didn't resist. She just looked tired, like she had been waiting. During the first interrogation, Eleanor said nothing. She just stared at the table, until Keller showed her a photograph of the freezer. Her eyes finally changed. Tears rolled down her face. She whispered she wasn't supposed to die. Keller leaned forward. Then what was she supposed to do? Eleanor took a slow breath. She was supposed to disappear. Eleanor's hands were shaking as she spoke. She was supposed to disappear, she said again, her voice barely louder than a whisper. Detective Keller watched her carefully, sensing that every word now carried the weight of 7 hidden years. Disappear from who? Keller asked. Eleanor swallowed. From him? That was the first time she said it out loud. She explained that 7 years ago, Marissa had come to her desperate and terrified. Marissa had been dating a man named Victor Hale, a charming stranger who promised adventure, money, and love. At first, he was perfect. Then, he became controlling, jealous, violent. Marissa tried to leave him. That was when the threats started. Victor knew where she lived, where she worked, where her family was. He told her that if she ever disappeared, someone she loved would pay the price. Marissa ran to Eleanor because Eleanor had once been Victor's partner in crime. Years earlier, Eleanor and Victor had been involved in illegal activities, fake identities, and financial scams. Eleanor had escaped that life, changed her name, and hidden in Blackwood Heights. Victor never forgave her. When Marissa realized Eleanor knew how to make people vanish, she begged for help. She wanted a new identity, a new life, a way out. Eleanor agreed. The plan was simple. Marissa would officially die, so Victor would stop looking for her. Eleanor would fake the evidence and give Marissa a clean escape. But nothing went according to plan. On the night Marissa was supposed to disappear, Victor showed up at Eleanor's house. He had followed Marissa. Eleanor was in the kitchen when she heard shouting. By the time she reached the living room, Victor was already there. Marissa was crying, begging him to leave her alone. Victor accused Eleanor of stealing what belonged to him. The argument became violent. Victor grabbed Marissa. She tried to pull away. They fell. Marissa's head hit the edge of the table. The sound was sickening. She collapsed to the floor, unconscious and bleeding. Victor panicked. He told Eleanor they had to get rid of the body. If anyone found out, he would disappear forever, and not in the way Marissa had wanted. Eleanor tried to stop him. She begged him to call an ambulance. Victor refused. He wrapped Marissa in plastic and dragged her toward the kitchen. He opened the freezer. Eleanor screamed at him to stop, but Victor pushed Marissa inside anyway. Marissa was still alive. She was breathing. Victor closed the door. That was the last time anyone heard her voice. Eleanor told Keller she was too afraid to fight Victor, too afraid of what he would do next. After Victor left, she stayed in that house for 3 days, listening to the freezer hum, knowing someone was dying inside it. When the sound finally stopped, Eleanor couldn't bring herself to open the door. She packed her things. She ran. She changed her name. She tried to forget. But the freezer stayed plugged in, waiting. Keller sat back, his face pale. "Why didn't you come forward?" he asked. Eleanor looked broken. "Because Victor is still out there," she said, "and he doesn't forgive." Police reopened the case immediately. Victor Hale was arrested 2 weeks later while trying to leave the country. Evidence from Eleanor's testimony, phone records, and Marissa's injuries proved what really happened. Victor was charged with murder. Eleanor was charged with obstruction of justice. But the truth had finally come out. Marissa Cole was no longer a secret. She was no longer frozen in time. She was finally heard. Some crimes don't happen in darkness. They happen behind closed doors, hidden in ordinary homes, waiting to be discovered. If this story shocked you, you won't want to miss the next one. Subscribe now for more dark mysteries and real-life inspired crime stories. Click the next video to uncover another secret that was never meant to be found.